දැන් මාස 25ක ස්ථාවර තැන්පතු සඳහා 10.75% අසම සම පොලියක් LB යසෙසුරු.
Tonight, on First at 9 this Friday the 13th of February 2026. Storms end. Net fishermen call off protest after discussions with the president. Further talks scheduled for next week. Scales of justice. Bribery Commission's Director General vows punishment for all engaged in bribery and corruption. Illegal asset charges against former Minister Gehelia Ramukwala and family fixed for trial on April 27th. Subpar shipments. All 5 coal shipments to Lakvijaya substandard, claims the opposition leader. Going digital. Comprehensive national policy on digital education to be launched in April, the Prime Minister confirms. Auto hikes. Vehicle importers predict an increase in price of imported vehicles after April.
Kalin baby so rupial anuwakata. Kalin baby podi hamotamai.
This is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9 on the Derana News channel. I'm Aditya Singha joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. Brought to you by the only Sri Lankan media network to rise to the pinnacle across all media platforms, recognized as the best by every survey and beloved by the people. Now, the top story tonight, the 9-day-long protest launched by net fishermen against the government's ban on the use of tractor-mounted winches concluded today after discussions with President Anrakumara Dissanayake. The net fishermen further stated that more discussions will take place next week with the Minister of Finance with the intention of mitigating the financial harm caused to fishermen in the immediate aftermath of the ban.
On February 5th, a satyagraha was launched by a group of net fishermen against the government's ban on tractor-mounted winches. The satyagraha persisted for 9 consecutive days despite discussions with relevant officials that yielded no positive outcome.
අපේට සාකච්ඡා මාර්ගයට එන්න කියලා නීතිමය කටයුත්ත අවසන් කරන්න කිව්වා. ඒක ඊයේ අභියාචනාධිකරණයේදී ඒ තීන්දුව දීලා තියෙනවා. නඩුව ඉල්ලාස් කරත්ත බවට.
Police officers who arrived at the protest site vowed to grant the protesters the opportunity to meet the president and discuss their concerns after first perusing documents certifying the withdrawal of the lawsuit. Subsequently, Director General of Public Relations at the Presidential Secretariat, D. Gamage, who arrived at the site, informed the fishermen that 10 of them had been granted an audience with the president. At the meeting chaired by President Dissanayake, emphasis was placed on finding solutions upon considering complaints lodged by the general fishing community and environmental organizations. The president also stressed on the importance of pursuing reports compiled by state-funded scientific research institutions under the Ministry of Fisheries and other relevant bodies. The importance of mitigating adverse economic repercussions while protecting the environment was also discussed at the meeting. Particular attention was paid to protecting the fishing industry and marine resources in line with international conventions. To that end, the prevention of fishing practices already banned was also discussed. The President's Media Division stated that all parties agreed to propose the most appropriate solutions through discussions within a short period of time. Consequently, the fishermen declared an end to the 9-day-long protest. After the discussion, net fishermen shared their thoughts with the media.
ජනාධිපතිතුමාගේ පැත්තෙන් 5 දිනක කණ්ඩායමකුත් අපේ පැත්තෙන් 5 දිනක කණ්ඩායමකුත් මේ ගැන දීර්ඝ විස්තරයක් බලලා එක එක පරිසරවේදීන් එක්ක ඒ කණ්ඩායම් නායකයොත් එක්ක අපේ 5 දෙනාගත් සාධනීය පැත්තක් බලලා හැකි ඉක්මනින් අපිට සාධාරණ විසඳුමක් දෙනවයි කියලා ජනාධිපතිතුමා අපිට පොරොන්දු වුණා.
However, protesters later claimed that they were not able to pursue their key interest during negotiations with the president despite high aspirations. According to the protesters, the president called for the temporary suspension of tractor-mounted winch fishing and instructed the authorities to commence their research from Monday onwards. Upon the president's instructions, the National Aquatic Resources Research and Development Agency, along with the National Aquaculture Development Authority, are expected to meet on Monday. The fishermen also revealed details on a meeting promised with the Ministry of Finance next Tuesday. The meeting is expected to resolve financial woes, including heavy mortgage burdens that crippled fishermen in the aftermath of the ban on winch fishing. Moved by the assurances provided by President Tissa, the fishermen proceeded to call off the protest.
Central Finance
Minister of Education Dr. Harani Amarasuriya revealed plans to launch a comprehensive national education policy on digital education in April this year. She made these remarks while addressing an awareness program on ongoing education reforms held in Monaragala, where she highlighted the government's commitment to integrating digital technology into school curricula.
Prime Minister Dr. Harani Amarasuriya today visited the Sri Shanmuha Tamil Mahavidyalaya and inspected the implementation of new teaching and learning approaches for Grade 1 introduced as part of the government's education sector reforms. She also toured Madurukatiya Mahavidyalaya in Monaragala, where she observed classroom activities and the practical application of the revised curriculum. The Prime Minister thereafter debriefed education authorities in Monaragala on the new education reforms. The session, which was organised at Royal College Monaragala, also delved into issues grappling the education sector.
There will be challenges ahead. There will be criticism. However, if our goal is clear and our intentions are pure, we believe we can bring meaningful change to the education sector. We need a comprehensive policy on digital education. We expect to launch such a policy this April. At the moment, we are putting together a program that grants children access to cutting-edge technology while also protecting them from harm.
During the discussion, school principals highlighted key challenges impeding their service.
ඉල්ලා හිටිනවා වර්ෂයේ මුලදී යම් නඩත්තු වියදමක් පාසලට ලබා දෙන්න. මේක අය කරගන්නේ දෙමාපියන්ගෙන්. මූල්‍ය ක්‍රියාවලියේදී විදුහල්පතිවල ඇත්තටම අනාරක්ෂිතයි ඒ දැනදී. ඔෆිස් එකේ හිටියා අම්මා කෙනෙක් හේතුව තමයි ඒ ළමයා 11 ශ්‍රේණියේ ළමයෙක් මේ දවස්වල පාසල් එන්නේ නැහැ. S2 තරු දෙකක් ගහලා කොණ්ඩේ කපන්නේ නැහැ. අපි කෙලින් වැඩක් කරොත් අපිට වෙන්නේ උසාවි ගානේ යන්න. පාසල් වලට
We are in fact deliberating on the provision of an annual maintenance grant for schools. The axiomatic relationship between discipline and corporal punishment is a crude conversation. We see a crisis brewing over the horizon given the discourse of this particular matter. We are not of the opinion that the judiciary will decide these matters unfairly. However, we also need an improvement in communication between generations.
ගණිතය, විද්‍යාව, ඉංග්‍රීසි, තොරතුරු තාක්ෂණ විෂයන්. මේවට ගුරු බෝධුන් හොයාගන්න පුළුවන් කමක් නැහැ. පරිගණකයක්වත් නොමැති පාසල් තියෙනවා 20ක්. පල්ලේවැල මහාවිද්‍යාලයේ 6, 7, 8, 9 කියන වැඩිහිටි දරුවන් ඉන්න පන්ති කාමරවල ඒ දරුවෝ පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ ලදරු කට්ටල.
We expect to recruit at least 23,000 teachers this year. Providing adequate physical resources is a major component of our education reforms.
The Colombo High Court today scheduled for the 27th of April the trial against former Health Minister Keheli Ramukwala and his family, who are facing indictments over the alleged illegal acquisition of assets. Meanwhile, the Wattala magistrate ordered the further remand of 5 suspects, including former Minister Johnston Fernando, until the 20th of April over charges of misappropriating state assets. In other legal developments, the Supreme Court was informed today that W.M. Mendes and Company owes the government 1.6 billion rupees in unpaid excise duties.
A fundamental rights petition filed by a civil activist seeking an order to recover unpaid excise duties owed by distilleries was taken for consideration today before a 3-member bench of the Supreme Court, chaired by Chief Justice Preethipadman Surasena. Counsel for the petitioning party, President's Counsel Saliya Pieris, informed court that the value of duties owed by several distilleries has increased since the petition was filed. highlighting that outstanding duties owed by WM Mendes and Company, which stood at 1.29 billion rupees as of 2020, had increased to 1.6 billion by 2024. The President's Council asserted that such a situation would not have arisen if the distilleries had an intention to settle the arrears. In response, Counsel for Respondent WM Mendes, President's Counsel Raziq Zaruk, submitted that his client's liquor manufacturing license has been suspended and assets frozen. Subsequently, Additional Solicitor General, President's Counsel Nerin Pullis submitted that all possible steps have been taken to recover outstanding excise duties. He highlighted that the liquor manufacturing licenses of some distilleries have been suspended and additional steps have been taken to recover duties owed by others. Concluding proceedings, the bench adjourned further consideration of the petition until the 5th of March and ordered authorities to report the progress of efforts to recover unpaid excise duties. In a separate development, the Wattala Magistrates Court today ordered the further remand of 5 suspects, including former Minister Johnston Fernando and his 2 sons, until the 20th of February. The suspects are being detained over charges of causing a 250,000 rupee loss to the state by deploying a lorry belonging to the Satasa Corporation for operations of an ethanol manufacturing company owned by them during Fernando's tenure as Minister of Cooperatives and Internal Trade. In further legal developments, the Colombo High Court today scheduled the trial against former Health Minister Kehelia Rambukwella, his wife, 2 daughters and son-in-law for the 27th of April. The Bribery Commission has filed indictments against the accused under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, alleging that they illegally acquired assets during Rambukwella's tenure as Minister of Mass Media, Health and Environment. The court ordered that summons be issued to witnesses in the case to appear before the court on the day of the trial.
Director General of the Bribery Commission Ranga Dissanayake vows to punish all engaged in bribery and corruption while hailing Sri Lanka's recent progress on the Global Corruption Perceptions Index compiled by the Transparency International organization. The Director General also reveals that one more special High Court already sanctioned by Chief Justice will commence its hearings on the 16th this month. The Global Corruption Perceptions Index is compiled based on a survey conducted by Transparency International. The index covers 182 countries and measures levels of perceived corruption. Sri Lanka ranked 121st on this index last year. However, this year is a turning point. Sri Lanka took 14 strong strides forward and secured the 107th rank among 182 countries. Off the back of a request made, the Chief Justice has sanctioned the establishment of 3 special High Courts. One High Court is already operational, while another is scheduled to begin hearings on the 16th of February. The ultimate objective is to punish all wrongdoers. The law will be enforced against everyone who pushed Sri Lanka's economy to its absolute limits by engaging in bribery and corruption. Deputy Minister of Public Security and Parliamentary Affairs, Attorney-at-Law Sunil Vatagala rejected allegations made against him by Venerable Balangoda Kassapa Thero. The Deputy Minister slammed the allegations made by the Thero as misinformation and asserted that such statements will not serve any ulterior motives. The Deputy Minister firmly denied the claims and emphasized that neither he nor anyone acting on his behalf ever contacted Venerable Balangoda Kassapa Thero over the phone.
Venerable Balangoda Kassapa Thero and several other suspects were enlarged on bail day before yesterday after approximately 28 days in remand custody. The suspects were arrested by the police over a purportedly illegal enshrinement of a Buddha statue on a plot of land in Trincomalee. Upon his release from custody, Venerable Balangoda Kassapa Thero levelled controversial allegations against the government at a press conference convened yesterday by the All Ceylon Buddhist Congress.
We were assaulted to the point of bleeding. Venerable Sukita Vansathera was beaten with an umbrella until it was broken and his wrist became inflamed. Afterwards, we were hospitalized. Tilvin Silva is aware of this incident and through a phone call suggested that the dispute could be resolved with violence. However, we did not give up the fight. Minister Sunil Vatagala is also aware of these events. He sent us a message through a third party requesting us to come to the Presidential Secretariat with a letterhead and a seal. The intention was to hand this land over to Adani or Ambani, construct a hotel there and use the land for Indian expansionism. Yet we refused to comply. The presence of the Buddha statue is an obstacle to the plan.
Deputy Minister of Public Security and Parliamentary Affairs Sunil Vatagala responded to these allegations today.
It is the Buddhist clergy that teaches us the 4th of the 5 precepts I will refrain from lying. Venerable Kassapathera's conscience is aware that his statement was false. Similarly, my conscience is aware that I have never met the Thera personally nor contacted him via a coordinator. The President stated that pilgrims who pass Anuradhapura on their way to Jaffna harbour ulterior motives. The Thera will never be able to achieve his ulterior motives by stating such falsehoods.
According to Sarvajana Balaya leader MP Dilip Jayavira, the recent arrest of several suspects along with a few Buddhist monks over the purportedly illegal enshrinement of a Buddha statue in Trincomalee is a calculated move by the government aimed at provoking unrest in the country. Addressing a press conference in Colombo, Jayavira stressed on the need for serious education reforms to improve the country's education sector and revealed plans to compile a set of comprehensive proposals to that end. There will not be a provincial council election. Looking at the manner in which this government is currently operating, it is quite clear that it has no intention of holding such elections. In fact, they are unable to do so because if an election were held, there would be a massive wave of votes against them. That reality is evident. Our involvement was not to personally support Venerable Balangoda Kassapathero. We stood against an organized attack against our culture. The incident in Trincomalee is, in truth, only one such occurrence. There have been far more serious incidents in the past. This government weaponizes such controversies to provoke unrest, create communal divisions, and incite racist rhetoric among people. That is clearly visible. We have set up a committee along with several other political parties. We intend to expand this committee into a commission. The relevant paperwork is being compiled at the moment. Once that process is complete, we will meet the people. Our position is that the Sri Lankan education system requires serious reform. Therefore, we hope to submit a comprehensive set of proposals to that end.
Meanwhile, the official letter of appointment declaring Dr. Priyankara Mahagam Mullage as the new media spokesperson of the Sarvajana Balaya was presented today by party leader MP Dilip Jayavira.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa claims that all 5 shipments of coal delivered to the Lak Vijay power plant were of substandard quality. He made these remarks during the Sectoral Oversight Committee on Infrastructure and Strategic Development, which convened yesterday at the Parliament complex. Meanwhile, the opposition leader also called for the establishment of a broad-based council under the President, representing all ethnicities and religions.
The Sectoral Oversight Committee on Infrastructure and Strategic Development convened yesterday, summoning senior officials from key state institutions including the Ceylon Electricity Board, the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka and the Lanka Coal Company. The session focused on concerns over the quality of coal recently delivered to the Lak Vijay power plant, which has been described as questionable.
ජනවාරි මාසය තුල නැව කීයක් ෂෙඩියුල් කරලා තිබුණාද? 6ක් සර්. ඒ නැව 6 ආවද? 6න් සර් ආවේ 5යි.
In December, 3 ships were expected and in January, 6 ships were expected, corresponding to a total of 9 ships. As of February 12th, 2 ships have arrived. Altogether, 11 ships were supposed to arrive, but so far, 7 ships have actually arrived. I raised these concerns anticipating proper responses as the matter was not adequately addressed when it was previously brought up in Parliament. Will the fines imposed sufficiently cover the losses incurred? According to the data provided, the second shipment resulted in a loss of 285.5 million rupees, yet only 135.1 million rupees can be recovered. The third shipment caused a loss exceeding 1 billion rupees, but only 150 million rupees can be recovered. The fourth shipment resulted in a loss of 856 million rupees, with only 107 million recoverable. Clearly, there is a serious problem with these shipments. The data you have submitted shows that most of these coal shipments were substandard. This means that more coal than necessary had to be used to generate electricity, and ultimately the cost is borne by the electricity consumers. Why is this the case? This is the case because alternative methods of electricity generation will need to be used to make up the deficit, which will inevitably result in replacement costs, causing electricity tariffs to rise. The reports you have submitted already confirm that these shipments consist of substandard coal.
Meanwhile, the opposition leader visited Narayampita Sri Abhayarama temple this morning, where he met with the chief incumbent Venerable Muruthettuwe Anandathero. During the meeting, they discussed the establishment of a council representing all races, religions and other political parties to be formed under the leadership of the President with the aim of strengthening the national reconciliation process.
Now in your political updates, Minister Bimal Ratnayake emphasised that just as the law was enforced in the murder case of former MP Amarakirti Athukorala, it should also be applied swiftly in addressing the attacks on citizens that occurred on and after May 9, 2022. He highlighted the need for timely legal action to ensure justice and uphold public trust in the rule of law amid ongoing political unrest.
The struggle was peaceful and just. However, Mahinda Rajapaksa and his followers with then IGP Deshabandhu Tennakon attacked the demonstrators. That attack sent shockwaves through society and MP Athukorala's death was a result of that shock. Therefore, it is the Rajapaksas who should ultimately bear the responsibility for his death. Those who level accusations should refer to the verdict of the court. We are grateful to the judiciary for adjudicating this matter fairly and delivering justice for MP Athukorala. Certain groups are still attempting to justify this murder, which was broadcast live on media and social media. That is the mindset from 1988 and 89, but it is not suited for the present. We will move to appeal the decision at the Supreme Court on behalf of the convicted. We unconditionally stand with everyone who participated in the struggle. Over 100 cases are pending against demonstrators. Eranga Gunasekara is a suspect in some of them. What steps have they taken regarding unjust cases filed against demonstrators? Several attacks were perpetrated against the public on May 9th and after that. The then government filed cases against our parliamentarians, ministers and activists under false pretenses. We hope the judiciary will deliver just rulings on those cases as well. The murder was a response to those attacks, but still it cannot be justified. Groups that assisted the people's uprising are calling for the convicted to be granted presidential pardons. I too call for such pardons. I am also responsible for this as I too supported the people's uprising and I still condone it. Professor Devasiri calls for presidential pardons for those convicted of the murder of Amarakirti Athukorala. Pardons can be granted, but MP Athukorala and his security officer cannot be brought back to life. Everyone has started to reveal their consciences.
Welcome back. Now in a rather tragic turn of events, former parliamentarian and former cabinet minister Professor Tissa Vitharana has passed away at the age of 91. The late veteran politician started his political journey in 1974 with the Lanka Samasamaja Party and later became the party leader. Professor Tissa Vitharana, who first entered parliament in 2004, later served as the Minister of Science and Technology during Mahinda Rajapaksa's presidency and made a great contribution to the advancement of the country's scientific research sector. Professor Tissa Vitharana, a skilled politician who directly presented his views on topics such as imperialism, ethnic issues and inter-ethnic reconciliation throughout his political career, was also recognized internationally on many occasions. He was 91 years old when he passed away at his residence in Kotte this morning after a long illness. His remains will be brought to the Borella N.M. Pereira Center tomorrow morning and last rites will be performed at the Borella Cemetery next Monday. Now, President Anukumara Dissanayake has appointed Varunashri Dhanapala as the new Secretary to the Ministry of Digital Economy. Secretary to the President, Dr. Nandika Sanath Kumar Nayaka, handed over the formal letter of appointment this afternoon. Dhanapala, a special grade officer of the Sri Lanka Administrative Service, served as the acting secretary to the Ministry of Digital Economy from the 29th of November 2024 until his formal appointment today. Welcome back. Now in your business news, the Vehicle Importers Association of Sri Lanka predicts an increase in the prices of imported vehicles in the coming months. This comes as a new 2.5% tax on vehicle imports is set to take effect from the 1st of April.
Convening a media briefing today, the Vehicle Importers Association of Sri Lanka forecast an increase in vehicle prices after the 1st of April.
The new tax is due to be imposed from the 1st of April. Customers are looking to purchase vehicles before then. The tax will not affect vehicles that are currently being cleared. However, from the 1st of April, a 2.5% tax will be collected directly by customs. This was a proposal approved as part of this year's budget. Until now, if a 4-year-old vehicle was imported, a tax worth 1.25% of its value was levied. However, according to the new method, regardless of the age of the vehicle, the tax will be equivalent to 2.5% of the value of a brand new vehicle of that model. Accordingly, the net value of this tax will amount to more than 2.5% of the vehicle's value. Considering the situation in Japan, several international markets, including Sri Lanka, reopened within the past month. Auction prices increased as a result. Therefore, an increase in vehicle prices can definitely be expected.
Speaking further, vehicle importers expressed pleasure over the streamlining of customs clearance for imported vehicles.
Vehicles are being cleared promptly. There are no delays on the part of customs. If we submit documents properly, a vehicle can be cleared within 3 or 4 days.
However, importers raised concern over delays in vehicle registration.
One of the biggest issues we are currently facing is vehicle registration. At the very least, it takes 5, 6 or 7 days for a vehicle to be registered. We have spoken to the RMV on multiple occasions. The issues they are facing are staff shortages and system limitations. However, this inconveniences vehicle importers. Even if we pay the 1-day registration fee, we still have to wait 4 to 5 days to receive the certificate of registration. Customers are dissatisfied as this causes delays in obtaining checks for vehicles purchased on a leasing basis. Moreover, if we apply for a vehicle registration within 89 days, the certificate only arrives on the 91st day. Since a penalty is imposed if a vehicle remains unregistered for more than 90 days, we have had to pay these penalties owing to such delays.
Now, the Colombo Stock Exchange maintained positive momentum today as a result of price gains in counters such as John Keel's Holdings, Central Finance Company and the Ceylon Tobacco Company. The benchmark ASPI gained 0.24% to close at 23,709.84, while the more liquid S&P Sri Lanka 20 increased by 0.29% to end the day at 6,618.73. Market turnover was 8.5 billion rupees. Foreign participation in market activity remained at subdued levels, with foreigners closing as net sellers of floating shares worth 986 million rupees. And now here's a look at today's exchange rates. That's all the news we have for you tonight. Thank you. Have a great night.